In traditional temple worship, perfection is the absolute standard. Every ritual, every chant, and every physical movement must be executed with flawless precision to honor the divine. This exactness extends to the daily offerings. 56 distinct dishes are meticulously prepared for the deity. The cooks operate under severe restrictions. They wear masks over their mouths to prevent a single stray breath from contaminating the food, and they cooked exclusively with holy water transported from the distant Yamuna River. But directly outside the heavy temple doors, the reality is entirely different. Here, a street sweeper sits in the dust. Because of strict societal purity laws, his caste dictates that he is utterly barred from entering the grounds. He can only weep at the gates, asking passing pilgrims to describe what the deity looks like. His daily prayer is heartbreaking. He asks God to reincarnate him as a tiny ant in his next life, simply so he might crawl unnoticed past the guards and finally see the altar. This setup raises a serious question. Is the creator of the universe actually confined behind these walls of flawless, rigid perfection, or does he desire something entirely different? Lord Srinathji maintains a secret, highly intimate friendship with the devotee Govindas, a bond that exists far beyond the public majesty of his altar. Whenever head priests turn their backs to gather ritual supplies, the Lord acts like a child. He physically tosses pearls at Govindas's head from the altar to get his attention. One afternoon, God insists on playing horse and rider. He jumps onto Govindas's back, tightly gripping his hair like reins, and forces him to gallop around. Mid-gallop, Govindas stops. He desperately needs to relieve himself. Instead of pausing the game, God commands him to keep walking and relieve himself right there in his clothes, a direct, blatant violation of every scriptural law regarding physical purity. A passerby witnesses this act and immediately complains to the head priest. The priest is outraged, but when Govindas explains that the Lord himself gave the direct order, the priest is stunned into silence. To the divine, the unhesitating, joyful submission of a genuine friend completely outweighs the strictest religious mandates of physical purity. This dynamic escalates when Srinathji suddenly rejects that pristine 56-course temple feast which the priests spent hours painstakingly preparing. Instead, he tells Govindas that he wants to eat dal bati, a rough peasant dish, and he wants it cooked over dried cow dung cakes deep within the surrounding forest. God suddenly abandons his heavily guarded throne and escapes into the wild to find his friend's hidden hut. The divine actively craves the raw, unpolished flavor of genuine love. He prefers a rough meal made with devotion over a sterile, mandatory religious ritual. The Lord uses this forest escape to stage a specific encounter, intentionally crossing paths with the marginalized sweeper he saw weeping at the temple gates. As the Lord crosses paths with the outcast, he fakes an injury. He hops on one foot, crying out that a terrible thorn has pierced his skin. The sweeper is terrified. This majestic figure is ordering him, an outcast who isn't even allowed to look at the temple, to physically approach and touch his divine feet. The ultimate taboo is shattered. God forces the outcast to pull the thorn out with his teeth, and then commands the sweeper to carry him on his shoulders through the forest. Later, while eating that simple forest food with Govindas, God is caught red-handed. He's secretly stuffing extra bread into his pockets to sneak back out for the hungry sweeper. God actively orchestrates the destruction of his own societal hierarchies. He breaks the very laws erected in his name to physically reach the lowest and most forgotten of his creations. Govindas catches on to this irony. He points out the Lord supposedly authored the Vedas and established all these grand rules of purity, yet completely ignores them in practice. So Govindas decides to play a trick of his own. He forces the creator to sit down and undergo a strict, mandatory purification ritual for wandering in the wild and touching outcasts. Right in the middle of the solemn ritual at Govind Kund, Govindas shoves Srinathji fully into the pond, forcefully washing the Lord himself. Religious rules, strict texts, and pristine rituals are merely training wheels. They are designed to help humans find their way toward God. Unconditional devotion represents the highest form of purity.
The divine would rather be labeled impure while playing with a true devotee than remain sterile and isolated on a golden throne.